Ready down there? Ready down there, gentlemen? Well, I thought 6 was just about to roll, but it didn't, did it?
Always gets so quiet.
I know. It's that very uncomfortable pause before it becomes 6 o'clock. The time is 6 p.m. and the regular meeting of the City Council of Denison, Texas is now in session. Our invocation this evening will be brought to us by Father Don Pershaw of the Dallas Diocese.
Good evening. Let us be at prayer. Our gracious and loving God, who not only created all things, but returns and gives us all good things in this world. We thank you, Lord, that we have the peace and prosperity that we enjoy so freely and so easily within our community. Help us, Lord, as we work together as a city to be mindful of the needs of all of our residents, to reach out to those in particular need, to hear of those kinds of needs that will prepare us for the future and expected growth. We thank you, Lord, for those who have stepped forward to serve. For without them, Lord, we would be in serious trouble. Bless us, Lord, now as we turn our hearts and our minds to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Will you join us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. At this point in every meeting, we set aside time for citizens' comments. In order to make a comment, you must fill out a request to speak card before we reach this point in our agenda. Ms. Valentine, do we have any request to speak cards? No, ma'am. Therefore, there will be no public comments. Item 3, consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There is a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Crawley and a second by Councilmember Courtright. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 4A, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and receive testimony from the Neighborhood Services Manager on the unsafe condition of the posted structure at 101 West Monterey and take action. Chief Gudgel, you don't look like Mr. Lay.
No, I certainly do not. He had something come up, folks, so he won't be able to present this evening. On July 28th, 2022, Bree Anna Stewart, Nuncio, Cynthia Stewart, the estate of Cynthia Stewart and Kennedy and Minshew Employees Profit Sharing Trust with Robert Minshew as trustee, were given notice of a violation to repair or demolish the structure at 101 West Monterey. The owner or owners have failed to comply with this notice. The structure is unsafe and in accordance with Chapter 13, Article 7, Section 13-154, 4, 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14, and 15 of the Denison Code of Ordinances. Code compliance staff have worked over 20 code violations at this property in the past 5 years, which include minimum property standard violations. Staff executed an administrative search warrant in April of 2022 to confirm substandard conditions on the interior of the structure. The structure was posted as unsafe on April 19th, 2022. Appraised value of the structure is $7,464 this year. Taxes currently due total $4,797.16, with no payments being made since 2008. There has been no water service at the structure since 2021. There are multiple substandard conditions on the interior of the structure. The structure is not weather tight. Roof is in poor condition. The foundation is in poor condition, and the structure is not fit for habitation. Are you going through those for me? Thank you. I'm multitasking. Thank you. A record of the violation notices and unsafe conditions of the property are on file in the Neighborhood Services Office. Staff is requesting council to declare the structure an unsafe and order its removal. I do believe Mr. Minshew, is he in the room? Is here if you'd like to hear from him.
Questions for Chief Gudgel? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Yes, sir. Would you state your name and address for the
Robert
record,
Minshew,
please?
And I didn't know I had a thing to do with this property until I got the letter from Mr. Lay. And I said, I wrote a letter, sent it back, but it didn't go out of my office. My secretary said, you might have something to do with this, and she got on the computer and she said, Mr. Minshew, you do have a lien on that property. I said, I don't think so. Nobody's been making any payments to me. It fell through the cracks. I changed bookkeepers and it just got lost in the shuffle. But I found out who it belonged to. She lives in Oklahoma. I got with her, and on August the 9th, she signed a deed to me in lieu of foreclosure. So foreclosure takes a month or two to go through. I could have done that, but it would have been a long time coming. After I talked to her, and she said, I don't have any use for it. I can't afford to fix it up. He said, I'll just deed it to you in lieu of foreclosure, and you do what you want to with it. And I've already hired a guy to clean it out, and he's been working over there. He worked out Friday and Saturday till noon. The dump closed at noon, and he's been over there all day. He's got 90% of the stuff out of the house. I went over there, and I couldn't walk in the front door. There was so much stuff that deep in the floor. It was a mess. But so I'm either going to tear it down myself or come in with a proposal to fix it. But I had to see the bones to see if it's worth fixing, but I couldn't see them until it got empty. The porches were full. The house was full. I tried to go inside and look at it, to walk the floors to see if they're level or firm. I couldn't find any floors. There was so much junk in there. So anyway, I've got a guy, he said he'd have the house cleared by tomorrow, and he'll start on the garage. It'll take him just one day to get the garage down. But then I can see what I'm going to do with it, and I'll either tear it down myself or I'll come in with a plan to make it meet code. If you want to see what I just did a recent renovation at 905 West Martin, and it's a nice looking house, and I did that. I'm proud of it. And I would really like to be proud of this one. But if it's worth fixing, if it's not, we'll just get rid of it. I don't care.
Okay, so Mr. Minshew, the process is that when we reach this point, that you have 10 days to pull a permit.
Okay?
And you have 60 days to bring it up to code. And if it's not up to code in 60 days, then no matter what you've done to it, we'll move forward with the demolition.
Well, I'm not sure I can get it up to code in 50 days, honestly.
60.
60. Well, I spent a year and a half on 905 West Martin to get it where it is today. But it rents for $1,800 a month, and I'm proud of it. But this one, I don't know. I paid about the same price for Martin as this one. I didn't pay anything for it. I lent money to the guy that lived there and forgot about it. But anyhow, I don't have a lot in it now, but I will have some money in it when I tear it down. I don't care. I'll either make it right, but if I can do it in 60 days, maybe. I'm not sure I can. I might just get it down next week. Who knows? I don't care. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So, okay, so Julie, this is unusual, because the process is that you pull a permit within 10 days. So where is our legal standing, Julie?
So your legal standing does allow you to enter an order that other repair or correction or demolition of the structure will happen within a specified period of time, and it provides for you to go up to 90 days if you order repair instead of ordering demolition, and that can only be extended if a detailed plan is brought forth with the work to be done and causes shown why it would reasonably take longer than the 90 days. You could also continue this public hearing to a future meeting to give him a couple weeks to figure out if he'd rather repair or demo, and then make the decision on a, your next meeting. Or
So, Mr. Minshew, we have a meeting on September the 19th. That would give you, that would be a whole month. Can you make determination?
Yes, ma'am,
by
I
the
can,
19th?
with no question. I
So
couldn't
if-
see the inside of the house until today. I finally saw the inside of the house. But I've got to see the bones, if it's worth fixing or not. But, yeah.
Mr. Minshew, I have to admit that you are probably the most humorous
Okay?
case we've had to come
Oh,
before
God.
us.
Oh, my gosh. This has truly dropped through the cracks. I didn't even know I had anything to do with it. Robert Lay sending me that notice woke me up, and I said, I dictated the letter to say I don't have anything to do with that property. I had lien across the street, but they paid me off. She looked at me. She said, Mr. Minshew, you do have a lien on it now. I just found it on the computer. I said, okay.
Okay, so the 19th of September would give you time to make a determination.
It would.
And then the council can make a decision.
It would.
Is there a motion from council to table this until the September 19th meeting?
Mayor, I move to table this item to September 19th.
There is a motion by, well, now, wait a minute. I have to close the public hearing before we can vote. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on behalf of this agenda item? If not, Mr. Minshew, we'll close the public hearing.
Okay.
And now we'll
Okay.
have the motion. Mayor Pro Tem Crawley, the motion from Mayor Pro Tem Crawley and a second by Councilmember Spiegel to table this until September the 19th to give you time to make determination.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Minshew.
There will be a decision. I'm not going to leave y'all with a mess. It was a mess. It'll be nice or it'll be gone. Okay, thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Item 4B, receive a report, hold a discussion, and conduct a public hearing and receive testimony from the Neighborhood Services Manager on the unsafe condition of the posted structure at 830 West Shepherd and take action. Chief Gudgel.
On July 28, 2022, MI Investment Management, LLC, Liberty Trust Company, LTD, Advanta IRA Services, LLC, Bangor South Loan Ops, and Bangor South Bank were given notice of violation to repair or demolish the structure at 830 West Shepherd. The owner or owners have failed to comply with this notice. The structure is unsafe in accordance with Chapter 13, Article 7, Section 13-154, 8, 9, 13, 14, and 15. The structure was issued notice for minimum property standard violations in May of 2021. No action was taken to repair the structure. In response to the structure continuing to deteriorate, it was posted on August 13th, 2022. The property owner contacted at that point and requested time to make repairs, which were granted. In almost 1 year, no repairs have been completed. Code staff executed an administrative search warrant to verify all substandard conditions on the interior on July 13th, 2022. The improvement was valued at $30,974 this year. There has been no water service at this property since February of 2018. The roof of the structure is in poor condition. The structure is not weather tight. The structure is not fit for habitation. The structure is open, making it an attractive nuisance in the neighborhood. A record of the violations, notice, and unsafe conditions of the property are on file in the Neighborhood Services Office. Staff is requesting council to declare the structure as unsafe and order its removal.
Questions for Chief Gudgel? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on behalf of this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Discussion from council. A motion?
Mayor, I move to declare the structure at 830 West Shepherd a nuisance and unsafe, to order demolition and to authorize staff to proceed with the demolition process.
There is a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Crawley and a second by Councilmember Spiegel. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you, Chief Gudgel. Item 5A, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on an ordinance to rezone portions of Lot 2 of the Minshew Crawford Edition, property ID number 218141 and property ID number 113549 in the DM Farmer Survey, abstract number 433, which was contained within a large tract of 9.7 plus or minus acres located at West Crawford Street and South Cathy Drive, from the local retail zoning district to the multifamily 1 residential zoning district, case number 2022-058Z. Ms. York.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you remember, this item was brought before this body in early July. Sorry, it sounds really quiet. And the item was tabled in order to bring, for the applicant to bring forward some plan development documentation. The staff recommended approval of this rezoning if it were a PD. The multifamily 1 zoning district requires a minimum of 10 acres, and the applicant has a total of 9.7 acres. At the meeting in July, when we discussed having a PD, the applicant was going to bring forth PD documents, PD language, concept plan, elevations, et cetera, and as of today, we have not received any of those documents.
So the applicant is not here.
No, ma'am.
So it was tabled to this meeting in order to have the documentations necessary. to
Yeah,
move
in
forward.
order, yes,
We
ma'am.
don't have those documents?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. Discussion from council. Then I guess the proper procedure is just to deny the request and let him begin again.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Discussion from council? Is there a motion?
Let me clarify one real quick. I just want to make sure. Have we spoken with the applicant lately?
I spoke to him in the beginning of July for that first meeting, and then I've spoken to him since then, but not about this. I've spoken to him about other properties.
Okay. Do we think that he understands where we're at right this second?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Mayor, I move to deny changing the zoning of the subject property from the local retail zoning district to planned development, MF1, multifamily 1, residential zoning district with the following stipulation: the minimum project size shall be 9.7 acres.
Second.
There is a motion by Councilmember Courtright and a second by Councilmember Thorne. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
I abstain, please, Mayor.
Please let the record show that Mayor Pro Tem Crawley abstained. Item 5B, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on the purchase of a new Spartan fire engine from Metro Fire and authorize the city manager to execute any associated documents. Chief Jacks.
Long time no see. How y'all doing?
Good.
All right.
I think we have an audience out here that's anxiously awaiting the decision of this vote.
I told them all to put their face up against the hill.
Yeah, I see that.
No, I'm here tonight asking for funding approval for the purchase of a new Spartan fire engine. Denison Fire Rescue currently has 4 engines, one at each of the 3 fire stations and 1 reserve engine that serves as backup. The station engines run 365 days a year and are used by fire personnel responding to emergencies, participating in training and community events, and many other day-to-day occurrences. Engine 62 is the primary engine for Fire Station 2. The optimum life expectancy for a frontline engine is typically 7 years. Engine 62 has been inoperable for more than half the year due to various maintenance issues. Engine 62 is 7 years old and needs to be retired from frontline service and placed into reserve status. Due to the high maintenance volume, we have relied on generosity of surrounding cities, mainly, when I say surrounding cities, I mean Pottsboro, and Siddons Martin, which is the dealer of our last fire engine we bought, to loan us fire engines to keep the fire department running properly. We will no longer be provided free loaner agreements with Siddons Martin, so it will be harder to receive temporary replacements when engine 62 needs servicing moving forward. See if I can work this right. Boom. So as you can see, it's going to be the same color scheme of the last fire engine we bought. And as you can see toward the back of the fire engine, it says the Mighty Fighting Yellow Jackets. I said mighty this time.
You
remember?
did say mighty.
All right. See, I learned. I'm teachable. Some of the key points of this: it's a turnkey engine that is expected to be in service by March of next year. Comes fully stocked with necessary tools and equipment. Those 2 points are key because when I say fully stocked with necessary tools and equipment, that means all the tools that we need, all the rescue tools, all the saws, everything that we need to perform our duties on any call that we make. Most of the fire engines we get don't have any of that, and we have to purchase that after the fact. So when this one, if y'all grant the funding, we'll come here, and all we have to do is put our personnel with their bunker gear on, and we're good to go. There's no waiting, there's no extra, so the price is total with everything on it. And when I say in service by March 2023, if we go for the custom fire engine, it's up to 2 years, which is hard to be without, with the way our engines are now, our reserve engines, 2 years is just not going to be possible. It comes with a 2-year bumper-to-bumper warranty and a 5-year warranty on the X12 Cummins engine. The 2-year bumper-to-bumper warranty is just like your car, from bumper to bumper, anything that's broken, anything that's like that, they replace it for 2 years. And the X12 Cummins engine is a 500 horsepower heavy-duty engine that they have had great luck with. It's not the old L9, which is in our previous fire engines that we're having all the trouble with right now. Metro Fire, which is the dealer for Spartan, will provide an emergency vehicle technician that comes to our station. That is a big selling point for me because right now we have to send our fire engines out, whether it's to McKinney or to Crum, to get them fixed. And of course, that takes personnel to take it there, come back, and it takes longer. They have to an hour drive either way. Coming and going. So here, if something breaks, we call them. They go, "Is it out of service?" And if we say it's out of service, they come right then to the station with a huge wrecker-like vehicle and fix anything that can be fixed. The only thing they can't fix is if the actual motor, if it's just inoperable. They'll have to get a wrecker to come and tow it and stuff like that. So that is a big selling point for us. Total price is $774,000, which will be offset by one trade-in credit with one of our reserve engines that we'll trade in. Another point is the annual price increase for a fire engine is 8 to 14% every year, which could add $70,000 to each year that we postpone this purchase. The final point I would like to make is that if we are lucky enough to get this engine, our oldest frontline apparatus will be 2020, and that will be ladder 63. So we'll have 3 new ambulances that are coming in January. Our oldest piece of apparatus will be 3 years old. And so we're good for another 6 years without ever having to talk about this again right now, unless we build another station and have to buy the apparatus for that. But for right now, that would be, we're good to go. So having said that, if y'all have any questions, this is something that I really think we need, but obviously it's up to y'all.
Questions for Chief Jacks? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Discussion from council? A motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the purchase of a Spartan fire engine from Metro Fire and authorize the city manager to execute any associated documents.
Second.
There is a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Crawley and a second by Councilmember Spiegel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, Chief Jacks.
Thank you.
We've got cheering fans out there. So. Item 5C, receive a report, hold a discussion, and consider acting upon adoption of a resolution directing the publication of notice of intention to issue combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation to provide funding for Phase 2 designs of downtown improvements. Ms. Alsabal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Designing downtown Denison, also known as the D3 project, began with the purpose of revitalizing our downtown to improve its vibrancy and economic vitality. Phase 1 of this project is nearing completion, and the City of Denison is ready to move forward with Phase 2 design. So staff is requesting approval of a resolution to publish a notice of intent to issue combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation. The principal amount will not exceed $1.2 million, and payments will be funded from the TERS 3 fund. Again, this item is just a request for the authorization to publish the notice of intent. Notices will be published in the newspaper and on our website on August 21st and August 28th. The ordinance for the issuance of the certificates will come to council in October with funding in November. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from council? Thank you, Laurie.
Okay, thank you.
A motion?
For discussion?
I'm sorry.
Discussion, was there
Discussion?
discussion?
Discussion.
Have nothing.
You don't have any? You just wanted me to say it. Well, oh, there you go. Just keep me in line, would you? Okay. Okay, so we've had discussion now, and there was none, so is there a motion?
Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution directing publication of notice of intention to issue combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation to provide funding for Phase 2 design of downtown improvements.
Second.
There is a motion by Councilmember Spiegel and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Crawley. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 5D, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a resolution calling a public hearing to consider an increase in tax revenue. Ms. Osabal.
Good evening again. The Truth in Taxation laws of Texas require that a government unit publish the proposed tax rate and hold one public hearing on a tax revenue increase. So if the proposed rate exceeds the voter approval rate or the no new revenue rate, the government body of the taxing unit must vote to place a proposal to adopt the rate on a future meeting agenda, and there must be a recorded roll call vote. The days of the public hearing must be stated and notices must be published. The proposed tax rate for the tax year 2022 for the City of Denison is .652034, which is the same as our current rate. However, this rate is higher than our no new revenue rate of .603046, therefore requiring a public hearing. Notices will be posted August 19th in the newspaper and on our website, and a public hearing will be held on September the 6th. Adoption of the tax rate is set to be September 6th as well. I would like to mention that the proposed tax rate will raise more revenue than last year's same properties by $315,117. New property added to the roll will raise $543,712. Therefore, the total additional revenue expected to be raised will be $858,829. Staff recommends approving this resolution on calling for a public hearing to increase the tax revenue for the City of Denison.
Questions for Ms. Osabal? Discussion from council. This does require a roll call vote. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the resolution calling for a public hearing for an increase in tax revenue.
Second.
There is a motion by Councilmember Doty and a second by Councilmember Spiegel, And this does require a roll call vote. Ms. Wallenstein?
As I say your last name, please say yes or no. Councilmember Hander?
Yes.
Councilmember Courtright?
Yes.
Councilmember Thorne?
Yes.
Mayor Gott?
Yes.
Councilmember Doty?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Crawley?
Yes.
Councilmember Spiegel?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 5E, receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on Chapter 380 Economic Development Performance Agreement between the City of Denison and Denison Real Estate LLC for property located at 815 West Crawford, and authorize the interim city manager to execute the same. Mr. Kai?
Honorable Mayor, it's a pleasure to be here and tell you, if you don't already know, we're getting an Ace Hardware in the former Kroger building. It hasn't been fast, but we started this project in June of 2019. And due to COVID and some other complications, it's taken a while to get to this point, to get to construction. So we're really excited about that. The two developers wanted to express their appreciation for you to consider this incentive. We as a team put this incentive agreement together back in 2020, early on as we were negotiating this project. I'm sure you're familiar with the Kroger building. It was not maintained in the latter years of Kroger operating there. So everything in that building is taken down except the floor and the walls. All the electrical, HVAC, everything has to be replaced to make it a viable building, which is important because it's next door to downtown. It's a main corridor for us. So the Denison team worked pretty hard to attract these developers to build that store out, and that's what they're doing. So this incentive was developed in early 2022, and now you have a copy of that signed by the developers, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about the project. They definitely would love to be here, but both of them are at the National Ace Hardware Convention for Franchisees. So that's why they're not here. So I'm kind of here on their behalf to say thank you for the support of the city team. There's a lot of opportunities to get through the planning and the layout and design for the site and to get to the point that it was permitted to be built. So thanks to the city team and everybody behind the scenes that got us to this point. But I think you're going to be pretty excited about it, and got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Questions for Mr. Kai?
It's looking great.
It is looking good.
Exciting.
We're really glad that you finally cleared up that mystery of what was going on in that.
Well, I've only been asked about it about 50 times. We tried to schedule this before the construction started, but those guys kept having conflicts and couldn't get here. They wanted to be here. So finally, we settled about a month ago on this date, and I guess they didn't know. They didn't pay attention, and so they couldn't be here tonight. But that's why the delay to have this before the council has been delayed, and construction has already started. But
Well, we're excited. That'll be a great addition to our community. So, discussion from council. Thank you, Mr. Kai. A motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the Chapter 380 Economic Development Performance Agreement between the City of Denison and Denison Real Estate LLC for property located at 815 West Crawford, and authorize the interim city manager to execute the same.
Second.
There is a motion by Councilmember Courtright and a second by Councilmember Thorne. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 6A, receive a report, hold a discussion, and provide direction to staff on the Wilden Comprehensive Water and Wastewater Rate Study Rate Scenario Proposals. Ms. Pilster.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As I'm sure you're very well aware of at this point, we have been in the trenches of a comprehensive water and wastewater rate study proposal with Wildan Financial Services. And this is encompassing the city's forecasted cost of services over the next several years. By utilizing the current implemented plan, critical capital improvement projects and operating costs will begin to outpace the utility billing revenue. So Wildan conducted their study while considering our debt servicing required to support such projects and inflation. On June 21st, they presented council with two proposed rate scenarios. And tonight, staff is seeking direction from council as to which rate scenario is suggested for an ordinance adoption in September. The staff rate study committee recommends scenario 2. And with that, I will welcome Dan Jackson from Wildan. He so graciously is here tonight. His daughter is in from New York, but he drove up to Denison to present this rate study one more time for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I am Dan Jackson, Vice President of Wildan Financial Services. And as Amber indicated, we did spend a lot of time working with city staff, coming up with both a comprehensive cost of service analysis, a forecast of your future revenue and financial needs, and a couple of different rate scenarios for you to consider. We gave you a fairly comprehensive presentation in June. We're not going to go through all that detail again. We do have in your council packets some of the background charts that you can look at if you so need to. But the purpose of tonight's presentation, as Amber indicated, was really to take another look at the 2 rate scenarios that we've presented to you and to get guidance from you on which one you think is the most fair, just, and reasonable one. When you look at rate plans, you have to keep a couple of things in mind. Most important thing being that different rate plans are going to impact different ratepayers differently. And what that means is that one rate plan may result in a larger increase to a certain set of customers. Another rate plan might impact other customers in a different way. And so it becomes contingent upon cities and their representatives to determine which is the most fair, just, and reasonable rate plan. Both of these rate plans will get you the same amount of revenue. They are revenue neutral. So the question now becomes, which is the most fair one? So with that, I remember last time I had trouble with this too. With that, before I get into the rate plan, I do want to reemphasize a couple of things. One is that your utility fund right now is in good financial condition, but utilities that are in good financial condition can be in bad financial condition very quickly if you don't stay on top of the cost increases that are affecting the industry. Why are we even here tonight even talking about rate increases? Well, there are 2 primary factors that are driving the need for this new rate plan in the city of Denison. One is that your operating costs are increasing. You know, when you have an inflation rate of 8 to 9% a year, that is going to impact every aspect of your life. It's going to impact the gasoline you buy, the groceries you buy. It's also going to impact the water, because you try to run your water operation like a business, and cost increases due to inflation ripple through to the water industry. The second reason is your capital improvement needs. The city is looking at an investment of $314 million in future capital improvements. Now, the benefit of a capital improvement plan for the city is that it is a direct investment in the future of the city. All of these dollars will go directly into the streets and alleyways of the city and will construct assets that will serve you, your children, your grandchildren, and maybe even your great-grandchildren. But those investments require a rate plan to be in place that will enable you to pay the debt on the bonds that you issue to finance the construction. So those are the reasons why we're looking at rate plans tonight. With that in mind, let's go through the 2 scenarios that we presented to you at the last council meeting. Under scenario 1, we would request that you consider implementing a 5-year rate plan with adjustments effective in December of each year, 2022 through 2026. It's one ordinance, it's one vote, and it's 5 years of automatic rate adjustments. One of the key factors of this rate plan, however, is that at present, right now, all of your customers pay the same minimum charge. Whether you're a commercial customer with a 4-inch meter or a residential customer with a 5/8-inch meter, you still pay the same charge. Many, if not most, cities don't do it that way. They charge a higher minimum charge if you have a larger meter. The reason is very simple. If you have a larger meter, it causes more demand on your system and more cost. It costs you more to service a 4-inch meter than a 5/8-inch meter. So for that reason, most cities charge a higher minimum charge. Under this plan, you would phase in higher minimum charges in accordance with AWWA standards for each meter size. This plan continues the city's policy of charging a uniform rate per 1,000 gallons, and it establishes over a 5-year period outside city rates that are 50% of the inside city rate premium. That's a very common thing. Virtually every city I work for has a premium for outside city rates because it costs you more to serve outside city customers. This rate plan will follow the same thing. So this is the rate plan here. I know there's a lot of numbers here, and I'll just kind of briefly take a look at a couple of them. As you can see on the residential side, your current minimum charge for water customers is $27, no matter what your meter size is. Over a 5-year period, you can see the minimum charge will go up for every customer, but it will go up more for the larger customers as the higher meter the charges per customer are phased in. The volumetric rate starts out at $3.18 and eventually ends up at $5.04 per 1,000 gallons by the year 2026. Commercial customers have similar increases in terms of minimum charges and volumetric charges, and so do your industrial customers. On the wastewater side, same thing. Right now, wastewater customers have a uniform charge per 1,000, minimum charge per 1,000 gallons. This plan would phase in a higher minimum charge for a larger meter. That does mean larger meter customers are going to pay more, but they should have been paying more all this time, because they've actually been paying less than what it is costing you to provide that service, proportionately than it has cost to other customers. And so this will correct that over a 5-year period. So what does this mean in terms of what people pay? Well, the average customer, the average residential customer here in the city of Denison uses somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 gallons of water and sewer service a month. Obviously, some people use more, other people use less. But if you're a 5,000 gallon customer, under scenario 1, and I'm going to have to look at this because that's the only way I can see it. Under scenario 1, right now, a 5,000 gallon customer pays $75.32 for that service. Under this plan, their monthly bill would go up by about $9.71 a month. That's about a 12% adjustment in the first year. It would be similar adjustments in each of the next 4 years. Obviously, if you use more water, if you're a 10,000 gallon customer, you'd pay a little bit more, about $11 to $11.50 more a month. Now, the vast majority of your monthly bills are going to be 10,000 gallons or less. I would estimate that 80 to 85% of your bills are 10,000 gallons or less. So the vast majority of customers would see their monthly bills go up by about $9 to $11 each year under this rate plan. Commercial customers would see a bigger increase. The reason is that you're phasing in that higher charge for a 2-inch meter as it is under this plan. Okay, that's scenario 1. Now let's take a look at scenario 2. Under scenario 2, the city considers implementing what's known as a conservation rate. The vast majority of cities in Texas right now have a policy where the more water a customer uses, the more they pay. The idea is to create a financial disincentive for using greater amounts of water, while at the same time ensuring that those lowest volume customers, who typically, though not always, are your lowest income or your fixed income customers, those customers pay the least more under that scenario. So the conservation rate structure is also known as an inverted block. Under this plan, you would do the following. You would create 3 rate tiers for your water customers. The first tier would go up to 5,000 gallons. And the second tier would go from that's your average. The second tier would go from 5,000 to 10,000 gallons, and you would pay a 25% premium for usage between 5,000 and 10,000 gallons. The third tier would be above 10,000 gallons, and you would pay another 25% premium over that. We economists have an old saying, you raise the price of something, you get less of it. Inverted block rates have been very successful at getting people to use water wisely, and water is a precious and diminishing resource. That is why the vast majority of cities here in the state of Texas have implemented some kind of inverted block rate. Under this plan, there would be no change to the wastewater rate structure. It would be the same under scenario 1. Now, what are the benefits of an inverted block rate structure? Well, it does encourage conservation. In my experience, I've seen significant decreases in per meter usage when you implement conservation rates. It also means, as I said earlier, that your lowest volume customers would pay the lowest amount more. But there is a challenge to it. The challenge is that under an inverted block rate structure, at least initially, those customers that use a lot of water are going to see a fairly substantial increase in their water bill. And they're not going to like that. And they're probably going to call you up and let you know that they're not happy about it. And so if you implement an inverted block rate structure, it has to be with the understanding that it is doing exactly what you intend it to do. It's causing more people who use large amounts of water to pay a lot more, which will encourage them to use lesser amounts of water. This is the proposal under the inverted block rate structure. As you can see, right now a residential customer pays $3.18 per 1,000 gallons. In the first year, if you use between 1 and 5,000 gallons, your rate would go to $3.44. If you use between 5 and 10,000 gallons, your rate would go to $4.30. And above 10,000 gallons, your rate would go to $5.38. And then you would see similar adjustments for each of the following years. You would have the same basic plan under commercial. However, the 3 tiers under commercial would be 1 to 20,000 because your commercial average usage is about 20,000 gallons, and then 25,000 gallons, and then 25 to 50,000 gallons, and then above 50,000 gallons. So what's the impact of that? Well, if you're a 5,000 gallon user, you still pay more. There's no really way around that, but you don't pay as much as you do under scenario 1. If you're a 5,000 gallon user, your bill would go up by about $8.50 in the first year, instead of over $9 as it is under scenario 1. However, if you're a 10 or 20,000 gallon user, you would see a bigger increase, and particularly in the first year, if you're a 20,000 gallon user, you would see a fairly substantial increase in your water bill. But 20,000 gallons is an awful lot of water used for either a residence or a business, and that's what you would see under this plan. How do they compare to each other? Well, this chart right here compares monthly bills under scenario 1 and under scenario 2. Let's take a look at our 5,000 gallon user. A customer who pays $75.32 pays about $1 less under scenario 2 in the first year. By the 5th year, that customer is paying between $4 and $5 less under scenario 2 than they're paying under scenario 1. They're still paying more than they're paying today, but it isn't quite as much. If you're a 10,000 gallon user, it's right about break even. As you can see, you pay a little bit more in the first year, but by the 5th year, you're paying pretty much the same under either scenario. But if you're a 20,000 gallon user, you're paying more under scenario 2, the conservation rate, than you are under scenario 1, which is exactly what it's intended to do. Same thing is true on the commercial customers. If you're up to the average commercial usage of 25,000 gallons, you're paying a little less under scenario 2 than you are under scenario 1. But if you're a large volume commercial customer, you're paying more under scenario 2 than you are under scenario 1. In closing, I once again just want to emphasize that each of these scenarios are revenue neutral. You'll get the same amount of revenue, but you'll just get it from different sources. And so neither scenario is right and neither scenario is wrong. Both are accepted by communities and by rate-making methodology. It's just a question of which rate plan you believe is the most fair, just, and reasonable, and which rate plan best obtains and achieves the objectives that you set for your water utility here in the city. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Questions from council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That was an information-only item, so it requires no action by the council. Item 6B, receive a report, hold a discussion, and receive direction from council on the fiscal year 2023 budget. Ms. Alsabal.
Good evening. This evening I'm bringing to you, where did the clicker go? I'm sorry. Hey, I would prefer somebody else wants to do it, so. Okay, this evening I'm bringing to you our proposed budget for fiscal year 23. This is a balanced budget as required by state law, which means that our expenditures do not exceed our projected revenues for the upcoming year. The items I will be talking about this evening include property tax rate information, restricted fund allocations, including both the general capital and utility capital fund, operating fund balances, budget recommendations, and the next steps in our budget process. So regarding our property tax rate, our current rate is 0.652034. The no new revenue rate is 0.603046, and the voter approval rate is 0.772503. The no new revenue tax rate is the rate that will raise the same amount of revenue as last year. The voter approval rate is the maximum rate we can set without an election. As you can see, our proposed tax rate is 0.652034, which is the same as our current rate. Now, this slide shows the history of Denison's tax rate at 10-year intervals since 1972. As you can see, our tax rate has continued to decline until around 2002. That's where it jumped back up slightly, but has pretty much remained the same. The current rate that we have is slightly lower than what it was 10 years ago in 2012. Next, I would like to talk about our restricted funds, starting with our general capital fund. For fiscal year 23, these are some of the capital items we are looking at budgeting for. This does not include all capital items, but rather the larger ones. We have cemetery and communications software, a roof for our dog facility, fire department furniture, a refuse truck arm rebuild, a street plow and spreader, outdoor warning sirens, and building improvements for the library, city jail, and public works facility. In our utility capital fund, we're looking at equipment and upgrades for our water treatment plant, sludge press and a generator for wastewater treatment, natural gas testing meter for environmental services, and furniture and new setup for our lab operations. Items in our other restricted funds include erosion control and bridge updates at Waterloo Lake, possibly to come out of our Parks and Recreation Fund, a strategic plan and destination audit to be paid from our hotel occupancy tax fund, water and sewer infrastructure projects, which are budgeted in our CIP bond fund, a shredder to be paid from our court fund, annual street and sidewalk improvements, which are budgeted for annually in our street bond fund. Again, this list is not all-inclusive, but it presents some of the larger expenditures that we will be looking at. Okay. Operating fund balances. For fiscal year 23, we are currently proposing 87 days of reserves in our general fund and 76 days of reserves in our utility fund. Now, these operating fund balances they already have some costs built into them, like our landfill and legal cost, additional residential carts that are needed due to growth in Denison, an increase to health coverage, increases to mowing and fuel, supplies cost increases due to inflation. It also includes VDI, which is an upgrade to our technology citywide. Okay. Next, we have our budget recommendations for personnel, which will come from those days of reserves that I just showed you. Know that our goal is to retain current staffing and bring them up to market. We have an aggressive plan to invest in city staff, to cross-train them, to find efficiencies in their workflows, and minimize turnover, which comes at a cost. So we are looking at 2 to 4% COLA adjustment for non-civil service. We're also looking at a market adjustment average of 4.29% for non-civil service. For fire civil service, we're looking at 5%, police civil service 10%. For new full-time positions, this would include an emergency management coordinator, a facility coordinator for building maintenance, and a Main Street crew leader. There will also be new grade assignments and new titles for some positions. Next steps. On September 6th, DDA will present their budget for approval. Council will conduct a public hearing and adopt the fiscal year 23 budget. Council will also conduct a public hearing and adopt the 2022 tax rate. After that, we can wrap up budget season and get ready to kick off the new year. So if you have any questions now or at a later time, I'm always available.
Questions for Ms. Alsabal? Thank you very much to you and your staff.
Thank
for
you.
all your hard work. I know this is an intensive time.
Yes, very much so. And I've got a great staff, so I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you.
This was an information item and requires no action from the council. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and about the water, wastewater, and roadway impact fee study. Ms. Stearns.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk to you about a revenue source that we have left sitting on the table for a little while, and hopefully we're going to take that off the table and start collecting. We last spoke about impact fees at the council meeting in July. Our team is here to give a quick update tonight. It'll mostly be an overview on what to expect in this impact fee study that we've undertaken in the coming months. It's informational only. The next step will be to appoint a capital improvement advisory committee, which we plan to have on the September 6th council meeting agenda, and we'll learn more about that in this presentation. With that, I'd like to introduce John Ho. He's Vice President of Hewitt Zollers, who's helping us with this project.
Welcome, John.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As Fashion mentioned, my intent is to give you a brief overall view of impact fees. Impact fees have been used throughout the U.S. and, of course, Texas. And the purpose of impact fee is to fund upcoming potential CIP projects. Developers and home builders typically will pay an impact fee to the city should the city of Denison choose to adopt it. They will pay it typically at when they secure a building permit. And this is a good way for the city to have these regular funding, so when needed, the city can utilize this fee. It also ensures that the existing residents of Denison will not be responsible to pay for the new development. Basically, we're saying pay as the private developers and home builders, they will be responsible paying for new developments within the city. As part of our impact fee study, we will review the city's land use and also come up with a CIP program and costs that for the next 10 years, because the impact fee is going to be calculations are based for the 10-year growth. And then with that fees determined, we will come up with a recommendation as far as what the fees might be, or the maximum, and then y'all can make decision what exactly amounts to charge. Eligible impact fees are for constructing new capital projects, such as a new roadway, expansion of your water or possibly wastewater treatment plant. It, as far as construction cost, it also will pay for or could be paid for toward professional services such as engineers, surveyors, legal, your financial advisors. However, they cannot be used for operation or maintenance or a replacement. So it's only good for new projects. This time, I'd like to ask Angie, our financial subconsultants, to brief you briefly on the actual calculation of impact fees.
Hi, I'm Angie Flores. I'm with Raptellus, and I'm helping John with this impact fee study. Just real quickly, wanted to go through the calculation of the impact fee. So as John mentioned, one of the steps of calculating the impact fee is determining what the capital improvement plan needs are of the city. And so in taking that CIP plan, we calculate a cost per LUE or roadway artillery mains, lines, roads, sorry. And then we, as required by Chapter 395, we take a 50% or rate credit to determine what the maximum allowable impact fee is. Let's see. How does this work? There we go. And so you can see here for the roadway, it's an arterial lane per vehicle miles traveled is how we get to the cost per lane mile. And then we go through the same process of doing that 50% or rate credit. I won't go into details about the 50% or rate credit at this time. When we do come back with some numbers, it'll make a lot more sense. This is just pretty high level. The maximum allowable impact fee basically becomes your, your ceiling, if you will, the maximum that can be collected. A lot of times cities will assess something less. And again, that's something that we can discuss once we come back with some real numbers. The committee will also be making recommendations about that. We wanted to provide to you just real quick, comparison to other cities like yourself, similarly situated. Won't go into a whole lot of detail about the table, other than to mention that, as you can see from here, the kind of the highest here, the percentage of price, 2.9% of the median home price is Gainesville. Sorry, it's a little small. And so really what we want to just point out here in this table is that, as you can see, that most of these cities that do have impact fees, that impact fee is a pretty small percentage of that median home cost. And so you can see that it goes from 2.9% at the highest range to 0.8% at the lower range. So just wanted to point that out. But as you can see, there are impact fees are used throughout the state, including these particular cities on this table. This shows the service area that we'll be looking at for the city of Denison, including the ETJ. And so this will become our basis for the development of that 10-year CIP that John mentioned. Just real quick, a schedule for the study. Our intent is to meet with the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee twice, and we'll be presenting them the land use assumptions, the capital improvement plan, as well as the calculation of the impact fee. We do intend to come back to you with some updates of where we are and some of those details. We are required by Chapter 395 to have 2 public hearings for the adoption of the land use assumptions and the CIP, and then the second public hearing for the consideration of the impact fee itself. Right now, our intent is to come to you for that impact fee public hearing in February of 2023. So we will now answer any questions you might have.
Questions from council for either John or Ms. Flores? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was an information item and does not require action by the council. Receiver report, hold a discussion on the Duck Creek Interceptor emergency repair. Mr. Bates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to give you a quick update on this project. This project's been identified, has been identified in the CIP project and funded through the CIP project. As you can see on the map, from the little yellow dot all the way around, following the green and yellow lines around, that is the Duck Creek interceptor line, and that is what has been identified that needs to be upgraded. Contract has been awarded to plumber. They are about 80% complete with the plans, and partial funding for doing it in phases partial funding is ready for construction. Unfortunately, I'll go back one. Unfortunately, the section from the little white or the little yellow dot up to the railroad tracks and the highway there has fallen into some bad condition, a little worse than what we have expected, quicker than the rest of it. As you can see in the first picture here, in May of 2022, we had the pipe broke. You can see the pipe that's missing in between there where the wastewater is. Third-party contractor was hired to remove the soil, which is that top right photo where we did what we call land farming, and it's where we clean it up and decontaminate the soil. Recent tests have showed that we're doing pretty good. They're just about to get back to a normal soil without any contamination. You can see in that bottom corner there, that is the picture of the pipe that was put in 1960. So it's a pretty old pipe. The other section of the interceptor that's in bad shape is the manholes. As you can see in the photos there, the one on the left, first one there as you're moving over to the right, the top one, that's supposed to be a manhole with a ring and cover, supposed to be full concreted, enclosed. As you can see in that second picture that's in the middle towards the bottom, the concrete is actually eroded away from the gases and stuff, and so that's just the sand. There's no concrete there, no structure at all. That's just the sand that's been molded by where the manhole was. So we have some problems there with collapse. Obviously, safety. This is in an area that is outside of the general public traveling, but it's still unsafe to have those manholes open like that. This bill we did declare this an emergency, and it did meet with the classifying it as emergency under the Texas Local Government Code. So on this drawing, the section that we are going to repair as an emergency is from the bottom portion of that map there on the bottom right up to those squares that go all the way up to the railroad tracks. It's about 8,700 linear feet of pipe that we've classified as emergency. We should be able to get construction started here in the next couple of weeks. And depending on weather, if it stays dry, we should get done in up to 6 months or 8 months at the most. The new line will be 42-inch, which is what's designed and what is proposed for the rest of that circle all the way around for future development. That's my update at this time. Is there any questions I can answer?
Questions for Mr. Bates? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That is an information item only. It requires no action from council. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and receive direction regarding third-party recycling services. Mr. Pereira.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First time I've operated this, so please bear with me. I'm here to give you an update on our efforts to keep curbside recycling alive in the city of Denison. As you may recall, our existing contract with Waste Connections is set to expire the 31st of January next year. We spoke to council a little bit about this during our council budget workshop in June of this year, and we heard loud and clear from council that if at all possible, we should try to keep curbside recycling going. In order to accomplish that, staff looked at about 4 or 5 different, well, actually a lot of options, but these were the big ones. We looked at maybe bringing recycling services in-house. You know, the city operates its own refuse collection, so we thought that might be a potential solution, but it was cost prohibitive. The cost to add trucks and staff was more than outsourcing would cost us. We looked at centralized collection stations, and as the mayor noted in our budget workshop, folks with limited transportation, it wasn't really fair to them to expect them to go to a centralized location to drop off recycling. So then we looked at opting in or a subscription-based service, but the revenue for that is very unpredictable. So unpredictable revenue equals unpredictable rates for those that opt in. So then we looked at rebidding this contract, but with a tight timeline to get this to council for budget approval, that wasn't really possible. Plus, there's been a very large increase in curbside recycling costs in the industry, and if we were to rebid, we would lose the one good bid we had. So just wanted to point out, speaking about cost increases, came to learn that recycling and garbage collection has its own CPI, and this is a snapshot of that. Recycling costs are trending up since December of 2021. We also have been notified by Tucson Area Solid Waste that they're having a tonnage increase that they're passing on to us. And I wanted to note the city of Denison has not increased residential rates since 2014. So what staff would like to do is make a recommendation and hopefully get some feedback from council on the direction they'd like to head. But staff would like to recommend acceptance of the one bid that we did get from Public Services. The term is 5 years. The rate is flat and fixed. Adoption of this and considering all the other increases with the recycling industry, staff would like to recommend a rate increase of 15% across the board. The current monthly residential rate pre-tax is $25.33 per unit. The new monthly rate pre-tax would be $28.98 per unit. The rate increase will help offset curbside recycling costs and the TASWA per ton landfill cost increase, and obviously inflationary aspects that we can't control. As part being, providing the service comes with its own costs, including fuel and other maintenance items, so this will help offset that as well. And with that, I would like to take any of your questions, maybe receive some direction, and if acceptable to council, I'd like to introduce Richard Brennis with Public Services, who can answer like service-specific questions that y'all may have.
Questions from council?
I have a question. The current recycle bins that we have, I understand, are property of the company we have now.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So that with the new company, Public Services, they will bring in new bins?
Yes, sir.
That still belong to them?
Yes, sir. As part of the wrap-up of the previous contract, that provider will come back and collect all the bins that they've issued. Our Public Services would come in and issue new bins.
Because I remember when that was initially done, it was a big operation where there were people that were delivering bins all over the city.
Yes, and that's something we'd be working on, logistics, the collection and reissue of the new carts, depending on the direction that council would like to head.
Like it.
Is there an opportunity to partner with the school district on that? Have we talked about that at all?
We have not talked with them, but we certainly can. We've got some time. The contract we have doesn't expire until January, so we can certainly do that.
So Bobby, if we made the decision to go with this company, the education portion of it would begin before January?
I think we can make that happen. Here's the man to ask right here.
Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Rick Burness. I'm with Republic Services. Education, I know, is very important. Believe me, we built a 76,000 square foot recycle center, and contamination it hinders our operation. We do education through a website called recyclingsimplified.com. Within that, there's actually curriculum for the ISDs to be able to teach in school the proper way K through 12 the proper way to recycle. We do postcards that'll go to every home on what's allowed, what isn't allowed the proper way. When we deliver the new carts, there'll be literature all within the carts. So that campaign will start probably the last quarter of 22 with the kickoff of February for the new contract. Why I have your attention, just so you know who Republic Services is, we perform 5 million services every day. We're the 5th largest vocational fleet in America. We built a 76,000 square foot recycle center located in Plano. One thing that's important to us is consistency of service and customer zeal. A lot of bidders would bid this with one truck. It's probably the logical thing they would think to do. We have a little bit of distance of where we're coming from. You'll have 2 drivers every day. You'll have the same drivers every day. They will start at point A, end at point Z, and run the routes consistently every day the same way. They learn the community. They learn the services that they're going to perform, and you'll see a lot more consistency of service. We actually have an app that everybody will be able to download that will show them their schedule. You can order a cart. You'll have to go through the city, but if you have a broken cart, you can actually go right on the app and order everything. So everything's out there at their fingertips at their time instead of trying to do it from 8 to 5. The other thing is technology. Beyond the app, we're believing by mid-23, you'll have a Follow My Truck app on their iPhone. So just like you sort of see with the other ones where you can actually see where the truck is en route to your location, we're working on the residential side of that right now. We already have that in place for the large container, small container. So that's the 3rd phase of it. So that will actually be able to, they'll be able to see where their truck is on their service day. Service days will stay the same. We'll run it the same way it's being run right now. So as far as any changeover that way, it will be seamless. It's just a matter of coordinating the carts, and we'll send literature out of when they'll receive their cart. I believe I hit everything. Any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer.
Any further questions?
What I understand from this, we're not having to shove all the cardboard boxes in the container. It says you put them under the container.
Right now, we're looking at under the container to flatten it. That's something that we'll have to work through. Right now, the way we have it to where you have to break them down and put them in, but you also know that cardboard is a big commodity right now. One thing I didn't mention is that the 3rd quarter of 2023, we will be the first company to open a polymer center, which means all the plastics that are collected throughout the United States will go. The first one's opening in Las Vegas. There's 3 more that'll open by 2025, which will be one in Texas, East Coast, and Midwest. What this is all the plastics will be shredded, made into clear or colored plastics, and we'll be the first one that will actually complete the circular recycle to where that will go to your Coca-Colas of the world, and they'll reuse the bottles that are collected here in Denison. So that first one will kick off the 3rd quarter of 23. Last but not least, community. We believe in community partnership. We have a foundation. You can go to foundation@republicservices.com, and if you're building a new park, you can ask for the grant. We believe in partnerships with our cities. It happens all over the United States, chamber events, and everything else. We believe in true partnerships as a corporate partner, okay? Now I'm done.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the council?
Do we have a feel for how many citizens actually use the recycling service?
As of July, we have 8,954 customers. I don't have numbers on how many that opt out or get their recycling cart collected by the city because they don't want to use it, but I can certainly get you that statistic if we have it.
But the citizen does have a chance to opt out if they want to.
Yes, currently, if they do not want to participate, they can ask to have their cart removed.
Thank you.
Anything else? That was a good discussion. Thank you.
All right,
That
thank you.
also was an information item and requires no action by the council. There is no need for an executive session this evening, with there being no further business to come before this body. The time is 7:18, and we stand adjourned.